If today's episode sparks any new ideas in you, please hit follow and leave a quick review for me. So I read every single one and it helps us to get more eyes on all this great conversation we're having. On to the episode.
So I think it's amazing to have a consistent subject in your life that you can consistently improve on, or just, default back to when you are bored or anything like that.
Well, welcome to another incredible episode of Purpose Driven Progress. As always, I am your host, Jacob Hicks. And today, I got to tell you guys, I am really excited for you guys to meet my guest, because today I am joined by Nicole Ovrutsky, a sales leader with a unique blend of strategy and creativity and global experience. She led teams across industries, mastered multiple languages, and developed outbound strategies that actually work. We'll dive into how language shapes business success, the keys to strong sales leadership, and the pivotal moments that defined her career. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're super excited to have you. So, kind of give us a little bit of background. How did you get to, kind of where you are today?
So I currently work at a marketing and advertising firm.
Mm-hmm.
I went to art school for fashion marketing and merchandising.
Yeah.
And then I left. And then I went to college for international business because I said I want to do something creative, but I will never be a fashion buyer at Nordstrom's because they only have like one or two, and I'll never get that job. I wanted to be Rachel from Friends.
Didn't we all?
And I was like, all right, slim chance. So I went back to community college for international business. And once I finished, I was like, all right, let me take a 6-month break and go do this program in Israel for living on a kibbutz, which is like a commune.
Mm-hmm.
So you work 4 hours a day. I worked in a kitchen, like 5 a.m. until 9, worked in a kitchen. And then you study 4 hours a day. You live on the coast, on a beach, beautiful. Anyway, back to your question. So I really liked it there, and I decided to extend my visa at the time. Moved to the city, moved to Tel Aviv, which is like Silicon Valley of the Eastern Hemisphere, or was, aside from like Dubai and whatever now.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working in tech, and I worked for some cybersecurity companies. I worked for some other innovative technologies. Relocated back to the States with a company based out of Tel Aviv, left that, and then found myself here.
That I love is really been kind of just all over the world finding your place. So, tell me a little bit more about, because we were kind of talking, off air, like or are learning 5 different languages, right?
Yeah, I'm learning my 5th. Yes.
Man, that's incredible. And I'll tell you, as a, a monolinguist, like I'm just kind of barely good at English. That's just incredible to me. How has that affected, just your life in general, I guess, but like especially things like in the sales and the business world?
Yeah, so I think on a personal level, it's just a really good way to challenge myself and keep myself learning. Even like Russian is the first language I learned at home. My parents immigrated from Russia. Now Ukraine, but was the former USSR. They immigrated in the late 70s to the States. So that was the first language that I learned at home and spoke with my grandparents and my parents, and then learned English. But my point is that even with like Russian, a language that I've been speaking my whole life, there are so many words and so many ways to express yourself. So I think it's amazing to have a consistent subject in your life that you can consistently improve on, or just, default back to when you are bored or anything like that. And on a sales executive level, it's so nice to be able to communicate with people all over the world. I mean, I was doing global business, and
Hmm.
even just a few words here and there of just being able to make that connection of like, I get you and you get me, and we have some sort of like common ground. Um, and then on top of that, just being able to understand their culture and, sort of where they come from, I think it really helps um, build that base of like trust and
Hmm.
understanding, and somebody who's open to, um, really caring and being able to learn about them. Long-winded.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I love that. Well, if you don't mind, I want to run down a rabbit hole a little bit here,
Yeah.
since you are, a true polyglot, and I think you might be the first one I've ever met. So I'm really curious because, I'm a big believer. Like, I love the differences between like a denotation and a connotation when we're talking about like an individual word, right? Like for example, like the word house means like the structure you live in, right? But it can have like a connotation of like, like warm feelings, like your family lives there, and like all the memories you have, like those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So, like, as somebody who has, learned, I would imagine, learned the word for house in, all these different languages. I mean, just as an example, like, are there, like, in the different languages you've learned, how does, like, the connotation and the denotation kind of change from, like, English to Russian to, Chinese to Hebrew to all these different languages you've learned?
Really good question. And yeah, good point. Um, so I definitely see a lot of similarities, and I think I saw the
Mm,
most in the last year and a half that I was learning Chinese. Of there are so
mm,
many common words, and I guess the feeling that comes behind them that backs those words of like the actual meaning of them.
mm-hmm.
um, so sorry, I got lost in my brain. Now I'm back. Um, yeah,
You're
no. So
okay.
I do see a lot of common words and meanings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily sure how to answer your question specifically. Um, what was
Well,
it
that's
again?
okay. So I
Like
would imagine that, like,
I got
if
lost
a
in thought of what are the commonalities between.
Yeah, especially like with the connotations, because I've always figured like obviously your own experiences around like my example, right? Like a house, like if you have like really really fond memories of your family and your friends, playing in the backyard or whatever else, you have like really warm connotations. But if you know like maybe you didn't have a great household growing
Oh,
up,
like
so maybe you have some like
associations with
negative,
the word.
yeah, because
Okay.
that's really like the larger meaning behind like an individual word, right?
Yeah. Um, In that case, I think it's not necessarily the word itself, but the tone when
Mm,
saying the word or like the context of the sentence. I
sure.
think there are definitely so many words that you can choose from, but we always go to like the top like three words, top three that we use the most, just like in the human brain. And I'm not a doctor, don't quote me on that, but that's just my that's just like my that's just like my opinion, man. So yeah, I think it's just people's choice or comfort with
Mm,
like the top three words. I don't know. I feel like I did not answer your question at
that's
all.
okay. Um, so I'm curious, since you've learned, so many languages, for anybody listening out there, do you have like any like, great advice or, helpful tips you've discovered along the way that helped you learn a new language?
Yeah. Um, my first tip would be to do it every day, even if it's
Mm,
15 minutes. And I have come to love Duolingo.
I
Um,
was gonna ask. Yep.
it's really, really, really good for learning new vocabulary, but also don't be scared to speak. I think so many of us try to learn a new language, but the biggest fear is like, we don't want to use it outside because we feel like we're not good enough or we won't be
Mm,
able to communicate ourselves, communicate our thoughts effectively. Um, but I've come to find that people really, really, really respect people that are trying to communicate in their mother tongue or their, language of choice. And nobody minds correcting you and nobody minds being patient. And
mm.
if they can't, they won't. But like most people really like and respect people who are making the effort to learn and try. So don't be shy.
I love that. So practice consistently and go out and try it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be scared to speak. I mean, and try to like use your words in a sentence every day. That's what I do. Of like every day whatever sentence or thought that I have in English, then I'll try to say it in every language that I know.